Hey everyone, welcome back to Contractor Growth Network. I'm Logan Shinholster, and today we have back for round two, Brian Kaskavalciyan. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Logan. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. So here's what we're doing today. So Brian wrote a book all about if you want to be a wealthy contractor, you need this book. I have it. I've read it twice now because a lot of what he talks about, what I love about it is it's not just for contractors. It's essentially all the stuff that we talk about on this podcast, where it's more about just, if you want to be a business owner that becomes wealthy, you need to do these 7 things. So today, Brian and I are going to talk about all 7 of them, go back and forth. And my only ask of you is this, if you're listening to it, don't just listen to the words and then go about your day. Buy the book, which Brian will tell us how to get the book, because if you just listen and go about your day, you're not going to implement, and you need skin in the game to actually make the change that you've been promising yourself that you would make for some time now.
Couldn't agree more.
Beautiful. I was going to ask Brian, is that a healthy disclaimer for this?
I could not agree more.
All right, beautiful. Brian, you ready to jump in?
Let's go.
All right, cool. So secret number 1, the wealthy contractor knows what they want and reverse engineers their business to deliver those results. Brian, what does that mean?
So you know as well as I do from all the contractors you talk to on a daily basis, so many, and this is, again, like you said earlier, this is not just for contractors. This is really for anybody that's in business, but we're dealing with contractors. So you hear it all the time. Well, I want to go to 3 million, or I want to go to 30 million, or I want to, whatever the number is. And the question I always want to know is, okay, well, why? Why do you want to go to that next level? Well, I want to make more money. Okay, great. How much more money do you want to make? And then things start to fall apart from there. It's like, as business owners, and by the way, I'm guilty of this too. I did this early on. I thought, well, if I just go sell more, then I'm just going to make more money. And then I'm going to be able to go buy a Ferrari and a mansion and a this and a that. And that shit doesn't work. I mean, it works for a few people, but not the majority of people. And so from my experience, my conversations now start with, well, how much money do you want to make? Let's start with that. How much money do you want to make to live the life that you want to live? Let's come up with a real number. And the number does not matter because it's different for everybody. My number is different from yours. Your number is different from the next person. Everybody's number is different. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. But you got to have a number. So let's just say for shits and giggles, it's $200,000, right? Okay, you want to make $200,000. Great. Now, let's take your business and let's figure out what we need to do to your business so it makes to the $200,000 that you want. That's the basic idea of secret number 1.
And let me ask you this, Brian. Do you think most people don't sit down and do this because 1, they either don't know how to do it, or 2, they say they want these things, but they actually don't want it, which is why they don't actually sit down and think about it?
Okay, so it's interesting. You're absolutely right on number 1. And number 2 is, so number 2, the answer to number 2 lies in secret number 6. It's mindset. In order for you, if you've using the same example, the 200,000, and again, it doesn't matter if it's 200,000, it's 800,000, it's 3 million, it's 40, whatever the number is that you want to make in personal income, take home income. If you, using the 200,000, if the most you've ever made is $60,000, and now you've got this goal of 200,000, well, guess what? There's this thing called your beliefs. There's this thing called your history, your experiences, that if you've never been there before and you put out this, say, I want to make 3 times what the biggest year I've ever had, what's the first thing that's going to come up? Resistance. That's what's going to come up first. And so you have to get in your mind first that there, and then you'll start to work towards it. Your mind will help you get there. But if you're stuck at 60,000, there's no way in hell you're ever going to get to 200 unless you change your mindset to 200. And people just think that, well, if I just go sell more, and this is why I run into people all the time that are doing millions and millions of dollars in their home improvement businesses. And I ask them, well, how's your profitability? How much are you making? And they'll be like, well, and anytime.
If it leads with well, it's not going anywhere good.
It's not going anywhere good. And so they think, well, I'll just sell and sell and sell. And it's like, you don't need that big of a business if you get your profit model right. You don't need to do $10 million to make $500,000. You only need like a $3 million business done right. So this is where that idea comes from. And it's all about clarity, because the more clarity you have about where you're going, the better the likelihood is that you're going to get there, right? So that's, and it's so, look, this took me a long time to figure out for myself personally, because when I was younger, when I was your age, oh man, I was going to have a jet, and I was going to have a yacht, and I was going to have this, and I was going to have that. But I didn't actually pencil it out and figure out, well, what is that all going to cost me? And then what kind of business do I need to have in order to make that happen? Right? I just sold more and sold myself into bankruptcy, basically.
So let me ask this. Should have been the first question I asked you is, in your opinion, when you wrote this book, how do you define a wealthy contractor?
Well, a wealthy contractor is somebody that gets to live life on their own terms, somebody that's got a business that works for them, that delivers to them the kind of income and wealth creation. So from your business, most of us, we need our business in order to create wealth. So we have to do a good job of taking money out of the business and putting it into other assets that grow, whether it be real estate or stocks or whatever, right? And so the wealthy contractor is the person that makes enough money to live the lifestyle that they want to live. They have enough freedom in their business that they get to not be in their business every single day, right? And they have control over this thing called their business. To me, that's a wealthy contractor. And there's no number necessarily on it, right? You could be very, very wealthy at $1 million. You could be super wealthy. For some people, that's poor, but it's all relative. It's entirely up to you, but it's all about freedom.
And when we talk about this idea of freedom, is this something that somebody inherently has within them to seek the ways to get to this freedom, or do they need to be placed in an environment with other freedom seeking contractors for them to actually make it happen?
So interestingly enough, we all start in business. Why did you start your own business?
Independence and money.
Okay, so both of those boil down to freedom. At the core, independence, autonomy is all about freedom, right? And money, you wanted to make more money. Why?
So I could do whatever it is that I wanted.
Right. That's freedom. And you didn't want to have to rely on somebody else. You wanted to rely on your own ability to create value in the marketplace, which you do a fantastic job of, right? And so given that, that's why we start. But here's what happens. If we allow it, the business will take over. The business will make us its servants, and it will become the master. And so I think that what happens is when that happens in the business, if it's allowed to happen, which it happens for most of us, then the second part of your question comes in. It's like, okay, one, you have to be reminded of why did you go into business for yourself in the first place? By the way, at all of my own seminars, the ones that we do are big live events every year, I start off with this. I start off with reminding people why they went into business in the first place. And then the rest of the time is to put them in an environment where it's okay to dream. It's okay to crave that freedom, to crave the independence, and then give them structures and the ability to go and create that for themselves. So I think it's both.
Okay. I love it. And this is something we can talk more about this in the mind step 6 or secret 6, but this is something that we do with our, like in our sales calls, like, because a lot of people are, Logan, I want to get to a $2 million company. Okay, great. What did you do last year? 500,000. Okay. So let's make this agreement. Our discussion today, if we really want to get to the 2 million, we need to make the decisions that a $2 million company owner is going to make, not a $500,000 company owner. Because if you're trying to lose weight and you're so stuck in this mindset of a 300-pound person trying to get down to 200 pounds, what's the likelihood that we're ever going to take the actions that we need to take to hit 200?
Yep.
Okay, Logan, I got it. Okay, cool. You ready to make this? Great. And then we jump into it. So it's like future proofing our decisions in this call. So
Right.
I love it. All right, let's go number 2. The wealthy contractor takes total responsibility for every outcome in their business and their life. So Brian, right now, everybody's dealing with, issues because unemployment is going up and we've got a president that's doing whatever he's doing. Everybody's complaining about that stuff. How much of that really affects everybody's day to day?
Well, this one we have to be careful of how deep we go into this one. At the end of the day, my mentor taught me that if I take 100% responsibility for every outcome in my life, every single one, only then will I have any measure of control over my life. And he's absolutely right. He's been absolutely right. So if you take the example of the president, okay, regardless of who it is, by the way, because there are some people that, love the one we have and hated the one that we had. There's ones that love the one we had and hate the one we've got. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you are making excuses because of that person or blaming your lot in life on them, you have no control of your life. You've abdicated control of your life to something that you have absolutely zero control over, right? And so, yes, there is an employment issue right now, finding people. Well, guess what? I got clients that are hiring people. They're finding them. Why? Because they took responsibility for this. They're not going to sit around and make excuses and blame other people for why they can't hire people. They're going to go find the people. Same thing with leads. If we need leads this week, you can't go blaming Google. You can't go blaming you. You can't blame me. Go make a lead. Take responsibility for it. Same thing with income. Look, if you have a goal of making whatever, $200,000 next year, and you don't get there, the minute you start to make excuses and you start to blame other people and other things, that's it. You've lost control. That says that, hey, it's up to forces beyond my control of whether or not I'm going to be successful or not successful.
I love this one, probably the most out of all of them, because this is something that I myself, like early on in this, like I've been doing that for 4 years. So I'm still, relatively early on. But once I kind of put it in that lens of everything that I'm doing here, like if I can't find somebody I'm looking to hire, well, guess what? I'm the one that's deciding I need to hire somebody.
Right.
Right. It's not the market's issue that I can't find this person.
That's right.
I'm the one that said, hey, I got to hire this person, because I very well could have said, actually, I'm going to have somebody else here do it, or I'm going to do it myself. But it's my decision to say, I need somebody else. Or
That's
the
right.
contractors are saying, I can't find these laborers. Well, who sold the work? Who promised the clients that you could produce on this? It's not the person out there that you're saying is not wanting to work for you. It's you're doing this. So nobody forced your hand into this business. Nobody forced your hand to sell that work, and nobody's forcing you to actually hire somebody. You could just do double duty and do it all yourself, but it's your decision. So at the end of the day, I think a lot of people that complain about this stuff, truthfully, I don't think they actually want to hire that person. I think it would be a nice to have, but I think they don't do it with conviction, which kind of goes into number 3, which is be 100% committed. But it's more of a, I would rather put a Craigslist ad out there and then complain about how nobody's showing up for my position that pays $9 an hour. Facebook is doing a great job hiring. They're not lacking at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's interesting. So yesterday, I do this monthly call with a group of people that have this product called the Wealthy Contractor Blueprint. And part of what they get in that is they get once a month, they get on with me. And one of the guys, he's been there 2 or 3 times. And he was saying about how, oh, we're not able to find people and we're not getting leads. And, oh, the business is this and the business is that. And I asked him, I said, well, have you figured out how much money you want to make? You know, and I just went back to see, have you figured out how much money you want to make? Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. And then I asked him, I said, did you do the reverse engineering? Well, part of when they get the book, they get the reverse engineering worksheet. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, he said, yeah, I remember doing it. I have it somewhere. I said, you have it somewhere. Okay. And I said, okay, do you remember the numbers of how many jobs you need to sell, how many leads you need to get, how much revenue you need to do? And he was like, well, and I stopped him right there. I said, look, I forgot how I said it, but basically I said, look, I don't want to beat you up in front of all of these people, but unless you know those numbers, you're not really committed. You're not committed to making the money that you need to make. So don't make excuses about, well, this isn't working and that's not working. And then you don't even know where you're going. You're not even committed to where you're going. Right. And that's where that comes in. It's like, I used to do consulting, which was the most painful 2 years of my life. Oh my God. And so, and by the way, I don't want anybody to take what him and I are saying the wrong way. We love you guys. And the reason we're doing this is because we love you, because we want to help you, right? Logan is doing all of this because he wants to help you. I wrote the book. If you read the first part, the dedication of the book, you will see what this book is designed for. But with that said, there's still some harsh realities here. Okay.
It's tough love.
That we all deal with. Yes, it's tough love. And so when I was doing the consulting work, you know, you go in and you say to people, hey, look, I'm going to take you to Logan. Logan is my internet marketing guy. He's going to kill it for you. Right. And great. Set you up with Logan. Come back a month later. Great. Where are we with Logan? Well, I didn't get a chance to call him yet. And I'd be like, oh my God, you're kidding me. And now we're going to rehash all of the stuff you were complaining about last month. Now we're going to talk about it all again. And you didn't even do the one thing that you were supposed to do that's going to help you get where you want to go. I started to ask people, well, look, wait a minute. Let me ask you something. How committed are you to making this happen? And unless it was like a 9 or a 10, I wouldn't even like follow up with people on it. It's like, okay, well, you don't want it bad enough. You're not going to do it. And so that's the idea behind this, is like, if I know what I want, I know that I can't make excuses or place blame. It's entirely on me. The next piece is, if I am 100% committed, like I will do whatever it takes, of course, within legal, ethical, and moral bounds. I will do whatever it takes to get to where I want to go. Now you got a shot at getting there. If you're not 100% committed, the likelihood of you getting there, not very good.
Secret number 3, it's the wealthy contractor is 100% committed no matter what.
Yeah.
So there's something that we talk about, which is, you know, are you interested or are you committed?
Yeah.
And I love it because a lot of times, and again, back in just, it's easy for me to make a lot of these references in sales calls because that's what I used to do a ton of. Yeah. And we would say that, and it would get to the point where I would say, hey, look, I'm going to be straight up with you. I can't want your business to succeed more than you want your own company to succeed. So I don't think I'm going to be the right fit right now. And some people would say you're right, but most people would get pissed off because they're like, no, I want this to succeed. And we're like, okay, great. If we took your actions and audited them, would your actions show that you want this to succeed, or are you just riled up on this call right now? And that typically would steer it in the right direction to actually get them to do the things that they are saying they should be doing, but they're not.
By the way, what you're doing is very good for the client or the prospect, not necessarily good for you though. because that could help, that might repel some sales. But you know what? But you're doing it right, because because the people that don't commit are the people that are going to come back to you a year later and say, well, Logan, I gave you all this money and what you did didn't work. No, what he did probably worked. You probably didn't do what you were supposed to do because you just weren't that committed to it.
And we say that. So we have like a money back guarantee on everything.
Yep.
And if people ask like in depth, like, well, how does it all work for money back guarantee? We'll just say, hey, look, straight up, if you're playing this with the intent that there's even a possibility that you're not going to do the stuff, let's just stop it right now.
Yep.
Because we're not in the business to go through this and convince you it's a good idea. Let's just call a timeout, go our separate ways, and we're good.
We do. So, and by the way, we do the same thing. We do the same thing. Yeah, it does sometimes repel sales, but I think at the end of the day, it's probably the right thing to do for the person that you're talking with.
100%. So number 4, the wealthy contractor understands the business they are really in. Brian, what does that mean?
So when you first kind of start out, those first few years, the first few $1 million, probably between $5 and $10 million, what you've got to understand is really you're in a sales and marketing business. The job is creating leads, right? Converting those leads into sales, converting those customers into raving fans, right? And then going out and doing it all over again. Home improvements need to be sold. Yesterday, again, on that same call, it's funny because they all come up. There was this guy about your age, has a painting company, and he just bid the biggest job that he's ever bid. And we had a whole discussion about bidding versus selling. Bidding versus selling, because there's too many contractors in the business today that are bidding, not selling. And when you bid, you're going up against price, and generally price alone. So like this guy asked him, okay, you went out, you met with this person, tell me about the process. What happened next? Well, I had to go back and I had to come up with the proposal, and I was ready, the next day. I said, great, you were ready with it. How did you get it to the prospect? And then he was telling me he didn't understand the question. I said, no. How did you deliver the proposal to the prospect? You know where I'm going with this. I can tell from your face. And he said, I emailed it. And I said to him, don't ever promise me right now you will never, ever do that again. Because when you send an email with a bid, you can't build value, right? They're going to look at the price and they're going to be shocked at the price without you there, without you having the ability to overcome objections, blah, 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 blah. Home improvements need to be sold. You have to charge premium prices in order for you to make a real profit. And the only way to charge premium prices is by selling, but then also, of course, delivering on your promises. The goal is not to be the cheapest. The goal is to be the most expensive, but be the best value. And that's the part that a lot of people don't understand about this business. And the most valuable thing you can do in the business is be the marketer, because the marketer is all about creating, at least for me, it's everything you do. It's not only internet lead generation. It's not only making leads. It's about creating a customer, but also keeping that customer and multiplying that customer. Create, keep, multiply. So it touches everything you do. The customer experience, the way you answer the phones, the way your people show up, the professionalism, the customer experience, and blah, 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 right?
So the business that you're really in, so we're talking about sales and marketing here. Do you think with a lot of people, when they don't view themselves in this light, kind of back to that first question I asked, because there's certain Facebook groups that we see that people are very they understand the value of sales and marketing. Other ones say, no way, I'm referral only. I don't need an online presence because I'm all referral. With those people, is it because they truly don't know what the other side of business is really like, or are they afraid because once they get the website, get the truck wraps, start to actually, build more relationships with past customers, do you think then it makes their business quote unquote real? And if they fail, it's embarrassing. So they'd rather never even step into the arena.
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of psychology behind it.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you got to decide, am I going to build something that works for me,
Mm-hmm.
or am I going to go be the person? Again, there was a guy on the call yesterday, same call. There was like 12 people on this call. And
This must have been a hell of a call.
But all 7 of these things all show up. They all show up every single time, anytime somebody is stuck somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy is a craftsman. I'm not going to talk about what he makes, but he sells the job, makes the thing, and installs it. And he wants to build a business, right? And I said to him, why are you building the thing? Go buy it from somebody else. There's somebody else that'll do it just as good as you or to your specs. And then you could go and do the things that you need to do to build your business. It goes back to secret number 1. Well, what do you want? Right? So if you want to make a living with your hands, God bless you. Go make a living with your hands. You want to be a craftsman, you want to be a handyman, you want to take one job at a time, God bless you. Go do it. But then don't come to me and tell me that you want to grow a business, because if you want to grow a business, it's a totally different deal.
Yeah. And we talk about this, like, so we are huge proponents of, if you're going to go out to somebody's house for an estimate, either have a consultation fee or a design fee or something that's like the pre-qualifier that's going to, like, if it's a window shopper, that's going to stop them in their tracks. But we still find a lot of people are then, if they, I charge $100 consultation fee, well, that's good, but essentially mentally you're going out there to collect $100. You're not going out there to close the $60,000 kitchen. You're going out there to collect $100, which pays for your gas, and that's it. So that's your new mentally, like, that's your sale, which can't really make it happen on $100 for 4 hours spent.
Yeah.
So it's the wrong business. It's the wrong framework. We had a Facebook Live the other night with one of our clients that he comes out with this, it's like this bravado. He skates the line really closely of confidence and cockiness when it comes to selling and who he is. And it works very well because it's super confident. And it's such, when he sells, like, it's this place of independently wealthy that, like, his clients feel it.
Yeah.
That it's like, he's doing this because he loves it, not because he's begging us for the work or he's not trying to screw us over. He's only going to do this project because he loves it. And you can just tell by the way that he presents himself. He speaks with full conviction that he knows when he's stepping into your space, he's not going to build you just a pool. He's going to create that destination in your backyard. And you know it because of just how he operates.
Well, he's an artist.
Yeah.
And he's in love with his art.
Yeah.
Great. Again, God bless him. But if you want to build a business, you can't build a business around that. Yeah. Right? You work for the business. And if you stop and go on vacation, good, go on vacation, yeah. But there isn't going to be any money coming in. I go on vacation, there's money coming in, right? The other thing too about this, is there are too many people out there that think that the word sell or selling is a bad word. They immediately think, well, I'm not one of those guys. Those guys are slimy. Those guys go in the house for hours and they do this and I'm not that. Nothing wrong with that as long as you deliver, as long as you build value. If you are valuable to the customer, you have to share that information, and it can't be done over an email, and it can't be done in 5 minutes. It takes time to build trust, to build value, to build confidence. And so selling is not a dirty word. Some people do it dirty, but you don't have to do it dirty.
For you, Brian, did you grow up when it comes to money, did you grow up very understanding of money? Okay, so you grew up very much like you don't talk about money, it's taboo. Like, was
My
that your?
So
Yeah.
what's interesting, so it took me a long time to figure this out. So my parents, both immigrants. My father came from a very, very poor family. My mother actually came from a wealthy family, but she was born into communist Bulgaria. And so, yeah, part of her family later on in life, they had some money. But when she was born, they were in a communist country. And she lived the first few years of her life there. My father was dirt poor. When and to make matters worse, my father, where he came from, was a second-class citizen. And so he wanted to come here so that he could be an American, so that he could be who he wanted to be. But he came with that poor mentality. Now, my father made it to the middle class, never was wealthy, but they did okay for themselves, considering where he came from and where he got to. And so there's all kinds of baggage that we have, and I won't go into the whole thing, but it took me a while to figure this out. There's so much baggage that we carry back or we carry forward from our families and from our parents and the ways that we were brought up. It took me a long time to figure out the money thing. And it's because, of the environment that I grew up in.
And for you, was it a gradual change, or was it just like one day for some reason it just clicked and you're like, wow, maybe.
Yeah, one day it took me 45 years and then I became an overnight success. I'm telling you, I was in my 40s when it finally started to click. Yeah.
So for me, because my dad, he grew up very poor, like, single. Yeah, it was not a good situation, and he made it. So I grew up essentially learning about money, like what is the stock market, what is interest, and it's like I see the difference between where I'm at now because I have this background in this environment versus somebody, which is probably most people listening to this podcast, where you didn't have that background. Right. So now you're trying to rewrite all these beliefs about, can you talk about money? Can you charge that? Right. I just want to make a quote unquote honest living, which honest living is typically just enough to survive, no savings, no nothing. Right. You don't go on vacation. You just want to make an honest living. And I think a lot of us, until you get over that hump, we still view money as this negative thing that we can't charge. We feel guilty for doing it. We feel slimy, essentially. So looking at,
what's ironic? What's ironic about the whole thing? I mean, we could have a conversation for hours just about money, but you just said something that really is true with a lot of people is they think that, well, I make an honest living. Do you? So let's think about this for a minute. So you go to a place and you work. Most people aren't really thrilled with where they go work, right? Most people try and get away with as little as possible. Government, my daughter now works for the government, and this is no more prevalent than in the government. I mean, people come to collect a check, hope, and just hope that nobody notices them, right? If that's an honest living, we have that's you have warped thinking.
Yep.
When we talk about an honest living, I mean, how much more honest living can you get where you go to someone's home who has a problem, whatever that problem might be? My roof is leaking, my kitchen is old and outdated, my toilet is leaking, whatever it is. And you come in there and you say to them, look, we've done this for hundreds of other people just like you in houses just like yours, and we're going to take care of that for you. You don't have to worry about it. We're going to show up on time. We're going to fix your problem, and we're going to be there if you need us again. That, to me, now that's an honest living, and actually going and delivering on that, that is an honest living. Right? Now, does that have to be sold? Yes, you have to sell yourself every day in business. You have to do it every single day with your clients. Every day, you and I wake up. This is the difference between people that work for themselves and work for others. right? Every day, our clients wake up thinking about firing us. And we have to every day come up with every reason why they're not going to fire us. Most people that work in a job don't think that way, but you and I do. And so what do we do every day? We go to work to make sure our clients are getting more value than what they're paying us. How many employees do that? And I'm, you know, I don't want to offend anybody. You know, we have a great team here. I'm sure you have a great team. So I'm not, you know, but there are a lot of people out there that's how they are.
Yeah, it's stressful. And the way that I look at it is a lot of people take on this undue stress where they have that fear every day, but then are they reverse engineering where they want to get to, or are they just stuck in this cycle of just stress? And then at the end of the year, what do you have to show for it? Right. Which kind of leads us into secret number 5 is wealthy contractor takes total control of their time. Something over here that we've been doing a lot more of, we're actually all reading this book called The Perfect Work Week. And essentially it's all about how to plan out your week appropriately, because a lot of times what I notice is when I'm too busy and I can't get stuff done in my mind, it's not because I have too much on my plate. It's because I literally have not sat down and actually just spent 5 minutes to plan out the order in which I need to do things, and actually time blocking. Because if I sit there and try to knock something out at 3 hours straight, it's not going to work, because then my mind is going to be fried and I'm in trouble. And I think a lot of people, if they just were to sit down, spend 10 minutes to just think about stuff, like actually plan this stuff out, like reverse engineer where you want to get to, your entire year is going to look completely different than the previous 19 years you've been in business, because you spent a little bit of time to figure it out. But most people say they're way too busy to make more time.
Yeah. The other thing too is with most business owners, and again, I've been guilty of this too. Most business owners are doing activities that they should not be doing in their business. I mean, plain and simple. If you could pay somebody 50, so if you want to make, you know, if you want to make $100,000 a year, let's say, right? 100,000, let's say 50 weeks, 40 hours a week, $50 an hour. Did I do the math right? Okay. So if you want to make $100,000 or more, you need to be earning $50 per hour every hour that you're working. And yet, how many business owners do we know that are doing $10, $15, $20 an hour activities? What we should be focused on as business owners are $500 an hour activities, $1,000 an hour activities, $10,000 an hour activities. Those are the things that the business owner should be working on. And the more that you can start to get rid of the things that that can be outsourced, borrowed, rented, you know, by other people, the more time you could spend on the things that are going to help you grow your business. And then, you know, what you said too fits right into that is now, okay, I have this plan. I know where I want to go. Now let me get a little organized and focused and work that plan.
Yeah, and I know for me with these $10 an hour tasks, I feel guilty sometimes saying, "Hey, look, my role here is not to create this spreadsheet." Like as a business owner, especially if you have a team behind you, understanding what, you know, you have the power to move the needle significantly. Going and personally sweeping up the job at the end of the day versus having somebody else who's already on the job site do it. Like you have just demoted yourself from whatever you're going to make, you know, $50 an hour if you make 100 grand, down to $10 an hour. Yet you get frustrated that homeowners are not going to pay you what you're quote unquote worth, but you're the one degrading yourself into these tasks.
Yeah.
And I think some of it's guilt. I think some of it's one of those mentalities of like, well, you know, if somebody's going to do it right, it's going to have to be me.
Yeah. Well, also it's cheaper if I go do it.
Yeah.
Right. Now, look, as business owners, we're willing to do anything. We'll clean the toilet. we'll sweep the floor, we'll do anything. But how much better would it be for you to step back and create a process and a system to where you are not doing those things, where other people are making sure that that stuff gets done? And that's the part that's missing in a lot of businesses, is just stop. Look at how you spend your time. I mean, look, one of the things that, with my clients, they're generally either they're already multi-million-dollar home improvement companies, or they want to be multi-million-dollar home improvement companies. Well, something happens at about $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in a home improvement business. And that is that the owner of the business was probably a salesperson before. A lot of my clients come from the sales side of the business, not from the trade side of the business. Sorry about that.
All good.
They come from the sales side, not the trade side. So when they start a business in home improvement, they go out and sell, and they're really good at it. But what happens is when you are the one that's out there selling, there's a limit to how much you could sell. There's only so much time in a day. Selling $1 million in home improvements is a full-time job. So if you're doing a full-time job of selling, how are you going to do the full-time job of growing your business? So what I have to tell those guys is I got to tell them, you got to stop selling. You have to stop selling. And it's really hard because that's what they know. That's what they're comfortable with. And success is about breaking out of what makes you comfortable and going into that next level of discomfort until that becomes normal. And then that'll become normal for you. It becomes comfortable. And then if you want to go to the next level, you have to get uncomfortable again.
It's just a series of, you feel like you finally made it, then you realize, okay, great, let's step it up. And that's just more resistance coming down on you, but it's just level after level after level.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to number 6. The wealthy contractor takes control of their mind. What does that mean?
So the older I get, the more I realize that success in business, really success in anything, starts with what you think. Napoleon Hill said it in Think and Grow Rich. There have been, ever since then, there's God knows how many other teachers that have come along. Jesus told us the same thing, by the way, 2,000 years ago. What you think about is who you become. And for years and years, I quote unquote knew this, but I didn't always do it. I think it was Bruce Lee that said, to know and not to do is not to know. So a lot of people know, yes, my thoughts will control, what I become. But what are you doing about it? What are you doing to dig into those thoughts? Because your thoughts will create your beliefs are going to create your actions will create your habits, and your habits will create your results. And so it all goes back to, well, what are we thinking? Going all the way back to secret number 1. If you've only ever made $50,000 in your life, that's the most money you've ever made. But now we're sitting here and I'm forcing you to do an exercise where to really think about, well, how much money do you want to make? And how much do you need to live your version of your best life? Well, I need 200,000. Again, number doesn't matter. All right. What do you have to do with your belief system, your thinking, your actions in order for you to think at that level? And it takes a lot of work. To me, that's where the work is. I think it's 90% mindset, maybe more, and only 5 to 10% skill set. I really do. It's the older I get, I'm a lot older than you. The older I get, the more I realize how important the mindset is. Like, last night, a conversation came up about Elon Musk. Okay, one of the richest men in the world, genius, right? I don't know why, I've been thinking about billionaires a lot because they've been vilified. Oh, there's so few people that have so much. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know about you, but the level of thinking required to be a billionaire, like look at Mark Cuban on Shark Tank, look at any of them. But look at the billionaire, okay? The billionaire on Shark Tank. There was something, oh, I just met the guy last week. He was on Shark Tank, got a deal with Lori. He's the flex screen guy. I'm going to do his podcast soon. His name's Joe, Flex Screen, okay? He was on Shark Tank. He was telling a story about how he was in the room while somebody else is pitching. So somebody else is inside pitching. He's on deck to go in next. He hears the whole conversation. It was the person before him got destroyed.
Oh, man.
The person that went before him was talking about some sort of technology. Mark Cuban says to him, wait a minute, one of the companies that I am invested in owns the patents on that technology. Okay. I heard this and I thought, how in the hell does a guy that's invested in God knows how many companies, okay, at different levels, God knows how many companies. He's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He's got a family. He's got friends. Can you imagine how many text messages, emails, and phone calls that guy gets in a single flipping day? How in the hell do you remember a patent that one of 200 companies that you're involved with holds? And how it applies to this person that's standing right in front? It blows my mind, the level of thinking that these guys possess. And I know for a fact I will never be a billionaire. Never, never, ever. I can't even imagine it. I hope that I went off on a rant. I went off on a tangent.
No.
I wouldn't blame you if you cut that part out.
No,
but it goes back to, look, I wanted to, for the years and years and years, there was a certain income that I wanted to attain. Okay. I had got a quarter of the way there most of my life. That's where I was comfortable. A quarter of the way there. I'm like, damn it. I want to hit that number. What do I have to do? And I had to go to work here. And every single day I went to work here. It took me 18 months, but I got there. It took me 18 months. Was I doing more work in my business? No. Right? Was I making more phone calls every single day? Maybe. But you know what I was really doing? I was getting my head ready for it. Every day, working on my beliefs. Try every day. What is the conversation that's going on in my head? That's what it takes. That's what it takes. And it's with anything and everything. And that's why I always say the level doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter, right? It's what do you want? And then you have to work your brain, your mind to get wrapped around that number. And unless and until you get there in your mind, the reality won't get you there. This is part of the reason why so many lottery winners, they go, all of a sudden they win $3 million. They were never ready for that. They don't know how to deal with that. And so what happens? The majority of them go right back to where they were before, because that is the level of thinking where they are.
And a lot of this, so this is something we talk with a lot of our people about, is it's all about the identity. Are you assuming the identity of these next shoes that you want to step into? Because if you're not, you won't get there. You're trying to hit 200 miles an hour on the highway, but your engine is still a Prius engine. It's not going to happen. So you got to upgrade that engine, because otherwise you will always max out at the 100, not the 200.
Right.
I love it. Yeah.
And by the way, here's a disclaimer, and it's in the book too. I am not a proponent of actually going and writing a check, like going and buying something you can't afford just to try and fool yourself into thinking that, oh, I want a Lamborghini, so I'm going to go get one tomorrow and then I'll fit into the Lamborghini. No, there are a few people that can do that, by the way. Few. I've run into those people, a few, but they're few and far between. For most of us, there is a process before you get there.
It's the whole be, do, have model versus
It
have,
is.
do, be.
You're right.
It's the same thing. You got to mentally get there before you get there.
That's right.
All right, let's jump to the last one. The wealthy contractor takes massive, unrelenting action. Why is that one important, Brian?
So, okay, so let's think about it. So we've outlined where we want to go. Okay, here's where we want to go. Here's why we want to get there. We've said to ourselves, look, I know I'm responsible. It's all entirely on me. Whether I succeed or I fail, it's going to be entirely on me. Am I committed to this? Absolutely. I am committed 100%. I'm going to make this happen. Now I go look at my business and I say, okay, I need to serve my customer. I need to provide value. And then I need to make sure that I am selling that value so I get the right price, so I can make the right profit, so I can, right? Then I'm looking at, well, how am I spending my time? Am I spending my time in the places that I need to be spending my time? Am I controlling my thoughts and my thinking? Am I moving my belief system closer to where I want to be? The last thing is, all of that stuff is great, but if I just go sit in my room and just think about it, nothing's going to happen. I got to go work. I got to go make stuff happen. I always used to say, this was one thing when I was younger, I always knew action, reaction. Action causes reaction, right? Good or bad. And so to me, if you know that this is your target, this is where you're going, take the action today, the first step towards that. Keep that in mind, keep that front and center. Just take the first step. You don't know what all of the steps are, but as long as you're moving forward, as long as you keep moving forward, will everything be perfect? No, but you're moving forward. That's what you're looking for. You want to keep moving forward.
I think that's where most people get hung up is as a, especially as a, if you own your own business, but as a contractor, deep down, you're a problem solver.
Yep.
Right? Like that's why you're being hired is to solve a problem. Yet what stops a lot of business owners is they try to solve the next year's, problems today. Well, if I do this, if I do all this marketing and I start to do all this stuff, then I'll have to hire more people. And because of what's going on, there's a labor shortage. I'm not going to do all this stuff. So you just stay stuck because you're trying to solve 2023's problem in 2021, but you'll never get to the, have to deal with those issues because you're always going to be stuck in 2021.
Yeah. Or you're trying to figure out, well, how am I ever gonna, that was my big thing.
Yeah.
How am I ever, that is the worst question you can ask yourself. How is like the worst question you can ask yourself? Because you don't know. You don't always know. But as long as you're moving forward, then the resources will start to show up. As long as you're committed, the resources will start to show up. The podcast that you need to listen to will show up. The person that you need to meet that's going to help you drive those leads is going to show up. And because you're moving forward, because your mindset is right, because you've got control of your time and you're not, going this and this way and that way and all of the other stuff before it, you know where you're going. Now I can hear the message. Now I talk to Logan and I say, yes, okay, this is the guy that I need to do my lead generation for me, right? That's the guy that's going to help me get there. The only reason you got there was because you worked on your mind and you worked on all of the other stuff. You knew where you were going, and now you were moving forward and taking action, and the next step showed itself. Does that make sense?
I love it because I'm a big believer of the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Where, if you put yourself out there, stuff will come. Like it will come. You just need to continue getting at bats at stuff. But if you stay in the dugout, you're stuck.
Well, look, at the end of the day, we're all magnets. All of us. Every single one of us is a magnet. And just look around at your life and you will see what kind of a magnet you are and what you're attracting. Are you attracting good people in your life? Are you attracting comfortable surroundings? Are you attracting happiness? Are you attracting sadness and jealousy and poor living conditions and challenges and problems and stress? You're a magnet. That's it. All of us are.
I love it. So
Took
Brian,
a long time. I mean, with experience, you see this
yeah,
thing. And it's funny, I was at an event last week, and there was 100 people there. And my part of my presentation was, look, the economy, the way that it is not going to last. Something's going to happen. It's going to normalize. How do I know this? Because I've seen it happen 3-4 times already, right? Things go in cycles. You see the same stuff happening over and over again. And for me, I was a slow learner. I start to see the patterns. It's like, there's patterns here.
yeah, but you got to stop and actually think about it and have the mindset for that versus just plowing through it. So a lot of this stuff really is, I mean, I've been reading The Road Less Stupid, which is a great book. And
Isn't that a great book?
And you never quite realize how important thinking time is.
Yeah.
It's just like, take 5-10 minutes. Like, I do that now. Every morning I journal, right?
Yeah.
I go through all that stuff, and it helps so much to not only calm me down, but also go, okay, great. Let's actually be a little bit more strategic about a couple things, because I'm definitely a jump in first, ask questions later type of person, which has gotten me to a certain point. But I recognize that the more that I grow and the bigger that I get, the less I'm able to do that, because it's really, okay, great. Like, it's not just you, Logan. You got other people relying on you.
Yeah.
And instead of just throwing caution to the wind, what if we actually think about it a little bit? And it helps so much. So yeah, it's been a fantastic book. But speaking of book, Brian, how do people get a hold of your book?
Well, I'll tell you what, I will buy everybody listening to this a copy of the book for free, right? Or I'll give it to you for free because I'll buy it. I'll just ask you to pay the delivery. So if they go to thewealthycontractor.com, the book is there. You'll see it on the front page. Looks like this. And just go there, and we ask you to pay shipping and handling, and you'll get a copy of the book. Plus, you get access to all of the resources that are in the book as well. Each of the chapters has different resources, and so there's access to all of that as well. So I think that's a pretty good deal, right? Or they can go to Amazon and they can buy it for whatever it is, $15.95, and I'll make $1.
What do you think, Brian, is the ROI of this book if somebody reads it and implements?
So I wish that I could have 10 minutes with my 32-year-old self, me 20 years ago. I'm grateful for all of the crap that's happened in my life because it's got me to where I am today. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I think for different people, it's going to be, my hope is, and the book is written to be a shortcut. It's to say, look, here's some things that I've noticed by being around dozens and dozens of self-made millionaires. Here's what I've learned myself on my journey, because I've been doing this on my own for over 30 years. And I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. My hope is that it's important for them, and they'll get one or two things out of it that may take them in a different direction. We've gotten very, very good feedback on the book, and that's why I buy it. It's like, let me at least put it in somebody's hands. But you said earlier, there's got to be a little bit of skin in the game. So I say, look, I'll give it to you, but just do me a favor and pay shipping and handling.
It's one of those books where, because I've read it twice, it reminds me a lot of like How to Win Friends and Influence People, where I read that once a year. And every time I read it, it's a completely different book because I'm in a completely different place.
Yeah.
It's so, when I first read it, it was, I didn't have any, it was just me. So when I'm like learning all about like the leadership styles, I'm like, well, that's great, but like, I don't, and then I read it when there was just 2 of us. And then I read it now that there's 11 of us, right? And then next year when we're at 20, it will be a different book again. And that's how this book is the same thing, where it's not one of those like, this is how you do SEO May 26, 2021, where in 3 years, it's outdated.
Yeah.
It's one of those books that read it once a year, and you will realize every time you read it, it will be it's like the book that keeps on giving. And when you read about how to reverse engineer your goals today versus you read how to reverse engineer your goals in a year, there'll be different goals because
Yeah.
you'll realize that you've leveled up that much. Your identity is completely different and it's a different book. So this is not an ask, go get the book. Seriously, go get it. You're not going to find a better deal than what Brian's hooking you up with. And he's not doing it to make money. He's doing it because he truly, if you listen to this podcast, you know he wants to help. Go get the book. Brian, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Guys, go get it. See you later.